everybody. This is Gregory here, your host, or one of your hosts for the You're Too Valuable podcast, saying hello to everyone. It looks like we have a familiar face back here as a co-host. For those of you that can't see, we'll let them introduce themselves here momentarily. But happy to have you, happy to have you back. So let's go and have you introduce yourselves.
Hey, thanks for welcoming me back, Greg. Glad to be back. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. This is a really good topic. Looking forward to talking about it. After Jesse and my co-host Jesse introduces himself, I'll tell you guys a little bit about what's going on. Jesse?
Hey guys, it's Jesse. Hope you're having a good week, and I'm excited to get things discussed today. Glad you're back, Robbie.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Just so everybody knows, I was out a little bit over a year ago. I was involved in a pretty bad car accident. I was out for I was hospitalized for about 72 days. I still need one final surgery, trying to get that all arranged, and that's why I was out. But glad to be back. In the meantime, I'll let you guys know when I'm going to be out for the long term. But thanks, everybody, for the love and concern that I received over the last week. Thanks very much.
Well, Robbie, I second Jesse in saying welcome back. Glad to have you. Based on today's topic, which is job hopping. Is it a stigma or is it savvy? And based on some of our pre-discussions that we had, this is going to be quite interesting for Robbie. So I'm going to have him kick us off this week and tell us what you think about this subject.
I mean, realistically, guys, I want you to think about, you know, when you have conversations with older generations, they typically, you know, worked their entire lives in their careers, maybe changing jobs once or twice. So the mentality was always bringing us up that you demonstrate loyalty, you demonstrate, you know, the company that takes care of you. Well, things have changed, you know, and I want everybody to really consider, you know, back in 2000 to 2004, that presidential administration decided that 401ks was the way to help companies basically take care of their employees. So when companies got rid of the idea of the pension, it was destined that you know, job hopping was going to become a thing, and corporate loyalty was going to become a thing of the past. And that's
so
my
are you saying that job hopping is a good thing now, or is not a good thing? Or was that even in there? Did I just missed it?
I think it's a great thing. I mean, in terms of the way that the job I think it's a fantastic thing. And we're going to dive deep into this. And, you know, Greg, I'm probably going to press your buttons like I always do. And I missed you for the last week. So I got it.
Oh, it was so nice last week. Oh, it was so nice last week. Justin and Jesse were they were sort of nice to me, but definitely not a Robbie, that's for sure. You know, I'm actually might turn that into an adjective now. It's a Robbie.
Yeah.
Well, I can say
you got Robbied. I got it.
Oh no! Oh boy. No, actually, never mind. I'm not going to go with what my friends call me or say that you get Greg. We're not going to talk about that. Anyway, so I have to say that. You know, in the HR world for recruiters and stuff, we're still looking for some more of the stability that you need to have. And so it's kind of interesting the way that it's looked at from corporate world to actually real world. And and this actually, it might surprise you. And I kind of saved this for when I started, but I kind of agree with you that it is a good thing. But we're going to talk about that later. And so
it's all about the company.
All right, Jesse, go ahead. I'm gonna let you take it away.
It's all about the Benjamins, baby.
As far as that, the company, if they're committed to you, but most jobs are seeing what you can commit to them. So, I think that's what's changed.
Yeah, there definitely has been a big change, and I think overall the culture and what people have done with the actual work environment has changed a lot, and that has changed this. And we'll discuss some of those aspects of what happened and went there. But let's start off with what is considered job hopping and what is it, and anything that you'd like to add to it?
Job hopping has become a thing of the current state of the job market. As a career development coach and person that helps people, to help people find jobs. I work with, tons of people, and I see, people that have stayed in their careers, but, for over 5 years, 10 years, I'm telling you, that just isn't really the case anymore. There's really no benefit to, remaining loyal to companies any longer. There's a lot of things that go into that. I know we're gonna go over why, but a big reason is I would say that end of year raises are lower than what the inflation rate is, so they're not even matching up. People are getting 2% raises. That equates to like $1,500, $2,000 a year. I mean, you break it down, and it's like an extra.
If you're lucky.
Yeah, it's like an extra $17 a paycheck, and so from that perspective, when you go to get that annual raise, no matter how much work you put in, it's always going to give you a better result to just go find the same position with one of the competitors, because the companies have slashed their training programs, and it's cheaper to go, steal the talent from competitors. And it's just the way that the job market has changed. I'm seeing it evolve like in rapid speed over the last 2 to 3 years. But this really started around the time of COVID. And, we're going to dive into some of this, but that's my perspective. Is the job market is completely different than it was even 5 years ago. And it's something that really needs to be talked about more. Jesse, what's your perspective?
I mean, I think in some careers it's pretty positive. I used to have a sales person that did our training for corporate wide, and she always rode the economic cycle with her jobs. Mm-hmm. And so when things were getting tough or whatever, and the markets were going down and the business cycle was resetting itself, and she was looking for a new opportunity, join at the bottom, and then when everything went back up, she was looking good because she was just riding the economic wave. So that's what she recommended to some people, but I agree that the commitment employers are thinking that they can just not commit to you and hardly give you any benefits or time off or perks or anything, when they used to have big pensions. I have relatives and stuff that are still getting pensions from their previous jobs, and I think that was a reason that kept a lot of people committed to their company, because they're looking forward to that.
Yeah, I agree. Greg, I know you probably have two different views on this.
Actually, I do. Yeah, it really not that it's a shocker or anything like that, but yeah, I have. Yeah, it's so my mindset. It kind of feels like jobs are starting to pick up, and I think you both alluded to that. Is that companies are trying to become a little bit more aware of that this is happening. And, kind of the things that I'm actually seeing in the workforce is that you're having individuals who want to be a contractor or an independent person or 1099, because that way they can move from company to company, and it's not considered something that's really that big of a deal because you're just a lifetime contractor. I've worked with several people that way, and it's kind of interesting that the way that they come about it, because one, they're like, it gives you the flexibility of what you want to do. It also gives you the flexibility to work for multiple companies. And, you're not necessarily an employee of that company. So you're
underneath the thumb of the employer. They can't tell you what to do when
correct. Yeah.
They can't tell you what hours to work, anything like that. So
they have to go through.
I can see where that would be the case.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's a big thing that a lot of individuals are doing these days, is being able to do that. Now, on the flip side, the companies still want to see some type of dedication to your company. And so what Robbie just said is that, there's really nothing there that's going to allow you or want you to be dedicated to a company. And I think these days some companies are trying to kind of help people get there with their, happy hours and their other type of benefits that they could offer to an employee, the hybrid or work remote location and things like that, in order to keep people into a job and become a little bit more loyal. And I don't know how well that's working, because you still see people leaving and going here and there. And I think that, that's something that's, still going to happen.
I think a lot of people are just getting bored with monotony of the corporation as well. And so they're looking for something different a lot of times, especially if they come in and they're rocking in and they're excelling and everything, and then it just gets boring to them. I can say that I'm been like that once that's why I spent so much time taking over distressed hotels and turning them around. Once I got them turned around and operating efficiently, I was ready for something new. So
I think it's really important to talk about, it's the kind of the reason that people are electing, like Greg was saying, to becoming 1099 contractors instead of employees. And don't ever let a company try to tell you that you're a 1099 employee, because that is a big no-no, just so you guys know. Yes. Needless to say, it has to do with, I think I've talked about this a lot in the past, is the 40-hour work week. The model for being your own boss in a 1099 type position, as long as the work gets done, the company doesn't care how you achieve it. They're not trying to say you need to do this behavior, that behavior, this behavior, that behavior, and just follow in line. Let us brainwash you. Please continue. Smile. Don't buck the system. And you probably are gonna. You're probably gonna have 8 hours during the week where you're finger popping. You're if that makes it, because you're not doing anything. I mean, you're just standing around the office, and they try to fill those gaps with donut sessions at the water break room, and people are tired of that. And yes, people are getting tired. Jesse, you know that. I think I know that. I think Greg knows that. And that's a big reason for it, is people are basically sitting at a computer for anywhere from 28 to 32 hours a week, getting their work done. And then they have 8 hours that they're supposed to remain clocked in and pretend like they're busy. I mean, it's outdated. And people think, well, I'm just going to go see if the culture is better over at this place. But on top of that, I can probably get myself a 10 to 20% raise of, pay increase.
That is a big, huge reason why this happens,
especially
quite often.
with so many
I want to get into that,
changes.
because that's going to be that's going to be I have to talk about that.
Yeah, and I think even HR, it's kind of hard to, it's basically, even HR representatives, you can tell when you're having a conversation with them that they're like, you can see that they don't believe the bullshit that they're spewing.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Robbie.
But yeah,
everything is great.
Yeah, needless to say, let's kind of move the conversation on. When raises are not keeping up with the rate of inflation, companies lowballing loyal employees, there's no loyalty there. You're like, okay, so if I go, the only way that I'm going to get a match is if I show you this, and here's the flip side of this, guys. So a lot of times you tell a company that you're leaving because they got a better offer somewhere, and that company will be like, oh no, don't go anywhere. Let me see what I can do for you. And then they go back and they say, well, we can get you exactly that, or maybe like $5,000 extra per year, but guarantee if you accept that offer, they would have done it prior to you leaving if they really cared about you. Now that they've actually had to increase your pay, you best believe that they're going to put unnecessary activities on your shoulders. They're going to make sure that you're earning that extra pay increase, and they're going to never let you forget about it. And it's absolutely,
wow.
Yeah, that's a big one, Greg.
Think,
and yeah,
you think so? I don't know about.
Greg said, "No, we would never."
Well, we got whoop boop boop. We need to back that truck up just a tad because I don't know about that.
Or like, especially with a lot of states that have rapid, 5-year plans to take their minimum wages to a certain level, and it's like, oh shoot, now the minimum wage has changed, and so we're gonna change all the people that are coming in at minimum wage, but we're not gonna change the people that have been there for 3 to 5 years already. We're gonna leave their wage, but everybody else is gonna get a raise. It's like, how does that make sense?
Yeah, I have seen that a lot, especially when that minimum wage goes up, just like it's going to do here in Colorado in 2026, and so it's interesting. But kind of going through what you were talking about, Robbie, this is where I really differ when it comes to the way that culture or the culture at I can't even talk the way culture is at corporations, because it does seem like a company would rather lose a good employee or have them go through the trouble of applying for another job just to get more money. And there are companies out there that are doing like stay bonuses, and they're doing or retention bonuses, depending on how you want to call it.
That's true.
And then, or stay interviews to see what would get you to stay and kind of not look for that. What are you doing with those? Are you actually giving people a raise? Are you giving them a bonus? And people, I have to tell you, there's a huge difference between a bonus and a raise. Just remember, a bonus is one time. A raise is your entire time that you're there.
Yeah, there is a big difference, especially on those fucking taxes.
Greg's actually letting you in on those tips and tricks that HR likes to throw at people that intend on leaving the company.
I am not saying that in any form or fashion as an HR representative. I'm telling you as a person, all right. That bonus is a one-time thing, and a lot of people realize, oh, cool, I'm getting $5,000 for staying here for another year. Okay, after that, then what? You're back in the same boat that you were in before. So allowing your employees to take that money once and then go, sure, it's just a blip on the P&L, and that's it. And then, you have to go around and hire new people if they end up quitting, or you've already spent this $5,000 for a stay bonus or retention bonus. What next when they leave? Once it hits that 1 year or whatever the time frame is that they're going to get, they're going to leave anyways. And so it gets expensive, because then you're spending lots and lots of money to go out there and get new people, and that ain't cheap.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I come from a background in leadership, looking at trends, taking a look at data, and being able to see big differences. I'm all about that, because I really understood, how to see what was going to happen in the future. And once I started my own business, I found ways to really pay attention to close things like that. Making sure that what we're hearing in the news is not always true about the job market, because I pay attention to these. And I'll tell you, if I was to look at 20 new clients, I would say 19 of them have been in their jobs less than 5 years, maybe even 20 of those. Mm-hmm. So it's just become the new norm. And people understand that loyalty isn't there. But on the flip side, I'm going to tell you, I think that people overall are getting burnout easier as a result of not having that loyalty, not really having that purpose. And that's why I think the concept of working was invented in the first place, obviously to have a society that functions well together. But on the flip side, humans need something that gives them purpose. And this is kind of disassembling that entire thought process from the top down. And I see it based on conversations I have with people that are my clients. People are like, man, I don't know if I'm ready to go back to work. Or if they are, I'll go get it done and I'll see you back here in 2 to 3 years, Robbie. And that's kind of the conversations that I'm having.
Well, actually, I would love to talk about that. And it's funny because I think about these things in my head and I'm like, should I talk about that or should I say what that is?
We are unfiltered, Greg. Say whatever the hell you want to.
I know, but okay. All right. So that is called a boomerang employee. Somebody who wants to leave, get their stuff, and then come back. And, it actually is becoming more and more common these days for various reasons. One is that money. Two is
you get hired at the higher rate. Yep.
Yeah, you get hired just like Jesse was talking about. You are the people who are there for minimum wage are going to get higher pay, and then the people who are tenured are not going to get anything. And so, what's the point? There is no reason to have that dedication to that job anymore. And I think, Robbie, you had said it earlier, or not before, about pensions. That's not unheard of these days. And so, you have nothing to stay there for. Yeah, we have a 401k and cool, we're going to match it. But, you have to be at this company for 3 years before you get 80% of that match, before it matures. And, that's not something that people are going to stay around for. I mean, for a couple $1,000, cool.
Jesse, what are your thoughts on this? I actually have some perspectives that I'd like to talk about that Greg, alluded to. But Jesse, what are your thoughts on this?
The only thing I was going to talk about in regards to that was I remember in college during our career planning class, and this is still the same, is that they predict that you'll have 5 to 7 different careers in your entire lifetime. And it's a lot of it to do, with just the advancement in technology and how that has changed jobs and different sectors of jobs coming out. You have entirely new sectors. AI is a big one right now that people are really getting a lot of jobs for. And that's another factor to the job hopping is people are being laid off and then are entering an entirely new landscape because they're either having a really hard time finding a job in that industry they were working in, and so people have to be flexible, and a lot of people want to be flexible to see what else is out there. Of course, there's another, with the connections that you have, you got a friend that's working at so-and-so company, and, oh, yeah, you could come, I'll get you this job here, and you're going to be doing something completely different, and so that's definitely a component too.
Yeah, and going back to, everything that I was talking about is Greg, we discussed a little bit that, companies have replaced their pensions with 401k plans, and that's tied directly to how the economy is going. People can immediately lose their life savings if there's any sort of economic recession. Looks like we're quietly entering into one, and people are trying to find ways to just stay afloat, and there's no guaranteed with those 401ks. There's no insurance, anything like that when you're doing that if the economy completely bottoms out for whatever reason, your life savings is protected. And that's
the other thing you also have to worry about is and 401ks. Okay, pensions were not always the best either. There were some downfalls to those with the fact of pensions could have been tied to a company's P&L, how they did.
It didn't benefit the company is what it is.
Okay, anyway,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
these days, your 401k is tied to a lot of different things, and it can be tied to a lot of different things. Yes, it also can be tied to your company's overall, wellness and how they're doing or how they're not doing, and so there's nothing there. Actually, that brings up another thing of like stock and stuff. I need to get there, but I need to finish this thought process. It gives you no reason to stay there. Why? No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Why would you want to stay there for any length of period of time? There's nothing holding you there. There's not a
Yeah.
pension, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just not necessary.
Yeah. No, I understand. And what I'll say is, people are finding the pros, the cons. There's a lot of different impacts that you have to look at. And, some of the biggest pros are people can just in an instant, within 3 weeks, sometimes get close to doubling their overall income. They can find out new skills working in a competitor, and whether that's working with different systems or having a different approach to the way that they work in certain industries. Because most Fortune 500 companies have completely gutted their training programs because that's their approach is let's just go steal the candidates from bigger competitors. And this also creates a bigger network. And I know that you just talked about that, Greg, but that's huge. Or I think it was Jesse that mentioned that. Just having that larger network is something that really is invaluable in today's job market. And I think a lot of things on LinkedIn annoy all of us, but there was a purpose behind it. Some people really put on their corporate knee pads and decided to demonstrate that to the rest of the world in some of their posts.
I don't like when you use that little visual aspect of corporate world. No, that's
And I want to talk about the cons. Like, actually, what other pros can you guys think of? Like, when you guys think of job hopping, what are some of the pros that really come to mind?
That for me, it's just it gives you a refreshed opportunity. If you're stuck at a job that you think that you've done what you want to do there, or aren't enjoying it, or something. For me, in the past, for job hopping, it's just been a refreshed, start over, especially if you are maybe quarreling with a bunch of other coworkers or are having problems with the company and stuff. It can give you a refreshed
getting out of toxic environments.
Getting out of that and just a restart. And a lot of people choose to go that way as well. I can see that as being a pro, but
with fingers crossed that the next company is not going to be just as bad when you get there.
Yep, exactly.
That's what you gotta say. Is that's what I want with a con, and when we're going to talk about that, is the grass is not always greener. But my other positivity is just like Jesse was saying earlier. Is you can change your company, you can change your field of your career and what you're doing, and that actually allows you to do that and become a little bit more well-rounded, I guess is a better way to say that. That's a corporate word to kind of say. And you're flexible of what you can and can't do. So let's say something happens and business is not as good. Well, Jesse has this other skill that he used to do before. Can we put him in that position instead of laying him off? Makes you a little bit better to kind of keep an eye on and keep around.
Yeah. And, it depends. So something I tell some of my clients is, what do you know about the interviewer? If you could guess how old they are, what would you say if they do know them? And the reason is because you have to understand certain people. Like I alluded to earlier in the conversation today, if people are a certain age and they're your interviewer and they see your resume and they're having a conversation with you face to face and they see that you job hop every 2 years, they've already probably pre-decided prior to even the interview taking place that they're not going to hire you because
what
that's
interview?
the way yeah. So it's because that's the way that they have always looked at the job market. But I would love to see some of those individuals be thrown flat on their face, having to find a new job because they would not they'd be talking about card stock and walking into give their resume to the hiring manager and somebody accepting it like they're not speaking English. They're like, oh, well, you got to go online, man. You got to go online. Like, people get really confused, and it's just not the way that the job market works anymore. And that's just my perspective. So that actually, Greg, hiring managers, HR managers, anybody like that, how do you interpret frequent moves?
What I would have to do is I would give some type of pointer or suggestion to hiring managers or talent acquisition recruiters is don't take that as a negative these days because so many people do it because of various reasons and you don't know what's going on with them. They could have been in a very toxic environment that they needed to get away from or, a toxic boss. There's nothing wrong with that. Now I do want to preface that and say just because they're job hopping doesn't mean it's negative. Now, can it? Absolutely. And it might say that, oh, hey, this person is only going to be here for 3 to 4 months, and it's not necessarily going to be a good thing because, we need this person to be here for a while because if they're not, then we have to continue to retrain somebody. And I think I talked about that earlier, is it's expensive to do that. But, don't disregard somebody. Don't disregard a resume because you're not really doing it to somebody. You're doing it to a resume. Don't disregard a resume just because that you see a frequent move or job hopping because, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Can it be?
Yeah.
Yes. But that's what either a pre-screen or that's what your first interview is all about, to ask those questions.
That's what I was going to say. Actually ask them instead of talent acquisitioners that go and look at a resume and you see a gap or a hop and it's an automatic rejection. And then you get, as a candidate, the automatic rejection. We reviewed your resume and don't feel that you match the qualifications. It's like, I'm applying for a job that I've already held. Then you haven't even called. So how does that rejection letter even make sense? Like, at least take the time to do a quick screen call with the person. Hey, can you explain these gaps? Hey, can you tell me a little bit why you were only at this company for so long? That's a 15-minute top conversation where you could take the time instead of just an automatic rejection.
I'll tell you this just to kind of so we can move on. But, coming from a career coach perspective, I'll tell you I help people prepare for interviews pretty much, I'm going to say north of 5 times a week. And with those job hopping, I help people have a talk track that really gets them understanding about the person, how it's framed as intentional, how it's strategic, and ultimately just leveling with the company. It's I figured that there was a different a better opportunity to increase my skill set. They doubled my salary. If I get an offer, if I'm recruited and they throw a number at me that I can't refuse, of course I'm going to get that opportunity. And a lot of these companies are paying for headhunters. And I mean,
headhunters are becoming more and more popular as it comes around, for sure.
So if they say, well, would you be interested in this position? And it looks like it's a $25,000 a year pay raise, and I could start that at the beginning of next month. Shit, I'm on my way. Like, you can, you know what I mean? Yeah. So you have to understand, and we have to really, I think people just don't know what's happening in the job market. And that starts with the companies. you've got Fortune 500 companies, pretty much the top 100 of them, if you look at the top 2 investors on all of them. So you've got the same companies representing boards of directors, and you're seeing a lot of the same policies just blanketed across Fortune 500 companies, gutting those training programs, reducing, the work from home, making people come into work. A lot of the same policies are basically identical with, one little minor change here and there in industries, and people are learning that very quickly. So they go from one toxic culture to another toxic culture to another toxic culture, and it's just a never-ending cycle of why did we get here? Why did we get here? And I think that that's a really important question. And Greg, I'd really like to start off with you. I'd like you to talk a little bit about what your perspective is on making job hopping strategic for our listeners. Because, we have some people that work at companies and higher ups, but a large majority of our audience are frontline producers. And I'd really like you to give your perspective.
Yeah, there are certain things that I think are, and this is where you won't know this if you don't have that screening call or that pre-interview at the first round of the hiring manager, stuff like that, is sometimes you're in a toxic work environment or toxic culture that you don't get along with. And, yes, you should be asking these questions and doing these things inside of an interview. But sometimes if you ask the wrong questions in an interview, and Robbie, you know this, Jesse, I'm pretty sure you do too, is if you ask the wrong question, they're going to throw you out of the consideration of that position. And so, yeah, it's good to have that, because you could be allowing yourself to get out of a relationship or an issue that you have.
Narcissistic relationship, of course. Yes.
And that can be very difficult. And so, allowing yourself to job hop, and that's another thing. You don't know if that's the case. You don't know if that particular person has gotten out of a job that was really, really bad for them. And, there are so many different types of cultures, so many types of values that companies have, and sometimes they don't live up to those values. We could look at them, read them, and there's just no way.
Yeah.
And then another thing is being able to advance. I have to say, the unfortunate part inside of an HR world is we unfortunately have to job hop a lot, because we have a very, 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 very narrow field to progress into and to promote into, and people tend to stay in them for a very, very long time. And if you don't move, you can't advance. And that's another huge thing is, being able to advance.
No, and I like the part where you mentioned, we need to be careful what you say during the interview because you'll get casted out. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what do you say? What do you not say? And if it's like people are so sensitive now, it's like, that's a red flag. We need to keep moving on. And then you take 3 more months to fill a position that you've had open. Like, it's just like, I mean, you're not going to be acting like a crazy person, obviously, during the interview, but it's like one little thing that you could say could just completely off-rail someone, and then, you're out. You're out.
And people need to make sure that they're strategically talking about this in interviews. And there's a couple of tips that I can give, just making sure, obviously... companies lie about some of the things that they say that they're going to do, upholding their values, and it's a little white lies, little now and here and there aren't going to kill nobody. You know what I mean? So
what you didn't get told in the interview was, this. I have heard that before.
They have great ideas, they just don't implement them.
Yeah, exactly. Employees. People on the job market, don't be afraid to tell a little white lie here and then when you're talking about
you cannot lie on a resume or in an interview. Never lie in any of those things.
Of
Never.
course we're not. I don't even know what you're
think
talking
Never
about.
say never.
Yeah, shut up, Greg.
And I didn't mean to point like that. That was rude.
Make sure that you're talking about, experience and opportunities and being recruited. The company will never know if you were recruited. I got offered a number I simply could not refuse.
Yeah.
That's a little white. That's like, I'm not saying, deliberately bullshit the bullshitters, but what I am saying is make sure that you have a good talk track while you're in the interview. And
I can't believe I'm hearing this. This is something I can't listen to.
Well, Greg, what's your tips? Tell us about it. What the hell?
Okay. So yes, if you're going to job hop, make it a reason why. Be honest, and say, yeah, the environment was just not for me. The position was just not for me. Yeah, you may get discarded for the position, but then again, it may not be what you wanted it for, anyways. And I think that's where you, as the interviewer or the interviewee, can also become the interviewee. Or gosh, I can't even get the right words out. You can interview the company, and you should be able to do that. And so I think, it's okay for you to be able to job hop and to do that, but you got to show some reasons, some progression, some type of advancement, either in yourself personally, in your job, in your career. Something happened that made you want to move out quickly or move along quickly. And I think Robbie was saying it earlier. If you get in a toxic relationship, you don't want to go on and continue in that. Why would you do that with a job too? Now, I also want to preface this, and I think Robbie and Jesse have both been saying this. I think Robbie has too, is money, 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 money. It's not always about the money. I cannot say that clearly enough. I have taken many different jobs because the culture wasn't the right fit for me for a pay cut. And, you go in there, hopefully they give you money sooner or later on. Not always going to happen. But, it's not always about the money. Just because you're going to make $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, double your pay. I don't know, double your pay is kind of significant. But, it's not always about that.
Yeah, don't talk about the money in, just say simple terms like I received an offer that I simply just could not refuse. For some reason, the word money really makes HR representatives and hiring managers super itchy. So, because they'll typically, they feel fine and dandy when they send you that offer in an email. And, but something about that conversation face to face gets them a little hot headed and they like rewire and it just gives them the heebie jeebies. So, Jesse, what would you recommend not saying, to in an interview? Regarding job hopping,
it's hard. I have a hard time being faced with questions when and if they come up during interviews, and so sometimes I just am honest. There's different ways that you could go about it, I guess. I mean, you kind of have to fill it out. If they're kind of a company that feels like they're gonna be okay with you, I don't know, being honest with them or whatever, then go to a shot with it. Otherwise, honestly, they don't even need to know. I mean, there's sometimes that you don't even have to tell them, and I just had to take some time off, and a lot of times they won't even dig into it, and you'll just go to the next question. Whether that's the right thing or the wrong thing, it depends on who's interviewing you and when the discussions that the hiring team has afterwards.
I mean, I think that's a really good perspective. And for people that are in the job market, people that have really been having difficulty finding work, I will say this. It may be tough right now, but there's opportunities out there. There's a lot of people that are taking jobs well under their qualifications just because of how bad the job market is. But I will say this with confidence, and I tell every one of my clients this. You do not owe a company loyalty unless they demonstrate it as well. They are paying you for your service.
Yep.
And technically they make it about time and this stupid 48-hour work week that I will continuously harp on that is outdated, and they'll find ways to keep you busy, but the loyalty is no longer there from the company's perspective. The minute you die, before your body is cold, that company has already got your job posting listed on Indeed, LinkedIn, and any other platform.
No. We have feelings too. We want to send flowers to your funeral.
Yeah. Okay.
We want to say we're sorry.
So here's the flowers, and they're posting the job your job description online as they speak. They'll do it all in this. They have one on one screen and the other on the other screen. 800flowers.com on this browser, and then they're on Indeed posting the job on the other one while they're eating a sandwich. I just want you guys to visualize what that looks like in an HR representative's office.
Nothing like finding your job posted. Nothing like finding your job posted online under confidential when you have medical issue.
Yeah. Yeah. Pensions are gone. Raises are lagging the rate of inflation. The average person right now, I think they say it's 80% of people couldn't find $500 in the United States for an emergency. So people are really taking the opportunity to make more money. But what that comes with, you've really got to do your due diligence, because that extra, $10, $15, $25,000 could potentially be detrimental to your overall health, could be detrimental to your mindset, to your mental well-being, to your interpersonal relationships. It can be detrimental to all of it. So make sure you do your due diligence, understand what the company culture is like. Using platforms like Indeed, you'll get so I tell people to take negative reviews on Glassdoor and Indeed with a grain of salt. But if you see a pattern of if you see a pattern of what people are complaining about, that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. And if you see people that have been there for a little bit of time, and there's some job hopping that's coming from certain companies, then that's definitely a red flag and something that I would definitely look into. Glassdoor is a great one. We're not tied to any company here, so we're not being paid by any type of advertisement. But yes, I think that's really good. And I think what you were saying, Robbie, is you owe nothing to a company, just like a company owes nothing to you. Now, we owe you money for the job that you give us. And so, there's that loyalty on, hey, we're giving you money, give us the work. And because you signed up for this job, why are you wanting to go elsewhere? And I think that's something that's a little bit worrisome for, HR in our world, is that, hopefully, and again, I say hopefully, the hiring manager and the interview process was giving you the proper information. And so why would you want to leave so soon? And so that's something that I think is, that needs to be looked at, is if somebody is continuously having that revolving door on that position, is there something that's happening? And, maybe things, like you said, were not in line with what you thought they would be. And
misaligned philosophies, for sure.
Yeah.
It feels like companies try to use the wrong reasons in terms of celebrating company success from from individual contributors, team contributions. The constant pizza parties I'm talking about. If we're hitting record profits, companies should reward their people with compensation and not filling up the $2.85 box of donuts from King Soopers. It was, Greg, which is actually
I have no idea.
Grocery store in the country.
No. And
anyway,
just because you have record profits does not mean that the company has the money to pay out more money.
Of course not. Of course.
You got to make up for some of the times that weren't really that good. And Just because you have
we gotta build the family. You know what I mean? We're gonna invest in our family. I feel like I'm Toretto from Fast and the Furious right now. We're a family. You know what I
don't
mean?
know. My family is not the perfect, bunch around here. They're a little messed up for certain things.
When I worked in corporate America, I couldn't wait to get the fuck out of there. Some of the most phony people I've ever met.
Language,
in my life. Anyway.
language. F word. Jeez.
Anyway, Greg, give us your real perspective, like your real perspective.
Like Gregory's perspective, or
Greg's
give us
perspective? Yes. One? Take the mask off really quickly. And what does Greg think?
A mask? It's a hat. Thank you. I have to take a hat. There's no mask. It's the same person. Same person. Jesse just laughed. I can't believe you just laughed like that. Whatever. Okay. My real perspective is I think it's difficult for you to sit back, look at things, and not want to better yourself in some form or fashion. I think I said that earlier, is making sure that you are there for yourself and that you're actually approving for yourself. And if you end up passing away, or I like to use winning the lottery. If you win the lottery and you end up and quitting your job, they're going to have to post your position right away, and they're going to have to get you up there. I know the whole morbid thing is if you die or get hit by a bus or whatever, no, we're not some final destination type of thing. But, you need to take care of yourself and make things healthy for yourself. So hopping is not necessarily a bad thing. It allows you to understand who you are and better understand where you want to be. Is it a good thing all the time? No, I don't think so either. I think that it can be reckless. It can be not good because of the way that you do it and the way that you present it.
Reckless? Yes. It's just survival. Come on. You're just going to get by. Trying to survive by job hopping so I don't blow my brains out because of the last company I was working for.
Oh my gosh. No, we can't say things like that either. Oh,
I am so glad. I am so glad that our next episode is what, Gregory?
Oh, no. We're not going to talk about the next episode and, what about your mental health days that you're going to take and how they are your vacation days.
I love how we're structuring these episodes.
Because... all-encompassing PTO days now? No, you just get time off days now.
And most people that get unlimited PTO are less likely to actually take PTO because it doesn't expire. So it's actually proven to be like.
Okay, we're gonna talk about that next time. Let's leave some enjoyment for those people to come and back and listen to next week. Oh, here we go with the woo again. Oh, yeah. We gotta cut that out.
It's. So something I want you guys to understand from a coach's perspective, and you guys on the the podcast, is my belief is job hopping is not a red flag if it's done with purpose. If it's done,
I'm glad you added that to that sentence. Yay! Makes me happy. What? With purpose.
Yeah, do it with purpose. Don't do it all willy nilly because your boss made you hurt your feelings. They're going to hurt your feelings even more at the next place. Most leaders don't know how to lead, from what I've experienced. It's very very rare.
I think you were talking about earlier. Everybody cutting training. That's because they never had the training. But continue.
Insane to me, and it just seems like. Listen, companies. This is the list of priorities for publicly traded companies. There are 3 top priorities. Number 1, because they're required to by law, produce a fiduciary responsibility to their investors. Their investors are their first priority. Number 2 is making sure that customers are happy, because customers that are happy pay the bills. And if they repeat, That's guaranteed reduction of churn. And then finally, we get to employee happiness being their third top priority. And without question, this is how companies in Fortune 500 companies are on the Fortune 500 are operating. Simply because their policies are all starting to look very, very, very similar, whichever company you go to. So my advice, try to find a privately held company, and you're going to have a better experience. And I say that with full confidence.
I don't know. Privately held companies can be a little bit of a chore.
Again, it comes down
to wear many of hats in that particular company.
Comes down to the leadership and the focus. Mr. Marriott has a famous quote that if you take care of your employees, they'll take care of the guests, which in turn brings in the money. So,
thank you. And I think I love that particular saying, because yes, if you take care of your employees, you can take care of the company that's going to happen. And I think that almost, for me, that's almost a mic drop when it comes to this particular subject, is if you're taking care of your employees, you're taking care of them, why would they want to job hop? And so if your company wants to take care of you, yes, then you should not be job hopping. And that's a good thing, because it is good that you're going to stay around. But as I was trying to say earlier and I forgot, the grass is not always greener. Remember, just because you're leaving one company does not mean that problem or that situation or that issue is not going to haunt you for a while and bring you into it. Your baggage, I mean, people who've had relationships with bad relationships, your baggage goes along with you. And sometimes, your next relationship is not the best because of the fact of your baggage is, very full.
I agree. Well, I'm going to help start getting us closed out. Guys, we really appreciate you listening in to this episode. We'd love to hear your stories. We make sure to monitor all of our social media. You can do it on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Heck, you can send us stories at stories@your2val.com. There's so many different ways that we'd love to hear your stories about job hopping, whether it's a good one, a bad one. Don't hesitate to let us know, because we'd love to hear your perspectives. This is what makes this podcast so great.
New email address in your absence last week.
He did. I have to say that. He was like, don't forget stories at your2val.com. I was actually quite impressed. Way to go, Jesse.
Thank you, Jesse.
Leave us a comment.
All right, well.
We want to hear from you. And we want to have you on as a guest as well.
Yeah, we do. And we've got some guests coming up here pretty shortly in the next couple of episodes. Something I really wanted to touch base on was, just make sure if you guys have any questions or if there's anything that you'd like to learn more, don't hesitate to reach out to us on social media. You can direct message us on those platforms for privacy reasons. If you need advice from any one of us, you can put who you'd need advice from, or you can ask the three of us generally. We'd love to have those conversations, and we'd love to have those engaging and beneficial plugs to help you guys out. And that's free of charge. Something I wanted to talk about is we've got some really exciting changes coming up here in the next, I would say, probably 5 to 10 episodes. You're going to start to see some new exciting things that we'll be plugging. So I'm pretty pumped about that, but I'm not going to spill any of the details. So Greg, do you want to close us out and talk about next week's topic?
Yeah, next week's topic is actually really good for me as somebody who deals a lot with this situation. But your mental health days are not your vacation days. They should be completely, totally separate. And yes, I know Jesse and Robbie were both making fun of that. They're all PTO days. No, yes, they're PTO days, but you still need to have your mental health days.
You can take a mental day. You just ain't going to get paid.
we got to make sure that the company gets to tell you what you can do with your free time. So if there's the thumb being placed on you, if you can see my screen, this is what they're doing: is they're holding you down. And
No.
That'll do it, folks.
No.
I'm excited to kick your ass next week too, Greg. I love you.
Oh, great. Hey, I had a great time. It was nice having you back, Robbie. I look forward to it. And I'm not looking forward to you not being here because you always give me a hard time, and I absolutely hate it. And I wish that you weren't here. No, I'm just joking. And Jesse, thank you so much. I really appreciate being here, and I look forward to seeing everyone next week.
Thanks, y'all, for listening.
Bye, guys. See you next week.